Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, Apttus is one of the fastest growing Silicon Valley technology companies. And Apttus also provides cloud computing solutions that encompass the quote-to-cash and procure-to-pay solutions to the Global 500 and mid-market marketplace. Now, regular listeners will probably remember that I attended the ApttusAccelerate event earlier this year and managed to interview some fantastic guests from IBM and Reuters about just what a huge difference Apttus is making to this marketplace. And these are just a few of the reasons why I'm quite excited to get today's guest on the show today. Maria Pergolino is Senior Vice President of Marketing and Sales Development at Apttus, but she is well known for her inspirational work at Apttus, and I've seen evidence of this firsthand. Maria is the recipient of several recent awards, including a Stevie Award for Women in Business, to both the top 50 most influential people in sales lead management and 20 women to watch in sales lead management lists. So I invited her on the show today to offer her unique perspective on the role of women in technology. On women in tech, automation, and also the road ahead for Apttus. So buckle up, hold on tight, listeners, because it's time to beam your ears all the way back to San Francisco so we can speak with Senior Vice President of Marketing at Apttus, Maria Pergolino. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Maria. Can you tell me a little about who you are and what you do?
Hi, my name is Maria Pergolino. I am SVP of Marketing and Sales Development for Apttus. I've been here for 4.5 years, and it's been an exciting time here, almost 5 years now. When I joined, there was a marketing team of one, and the company, while it had existed for 5 or 6 years at that point, everything had grown through referral, which is very unique for a Silicon Valley company. We turned on a lot of the go-to-market assets. We amped up some of the product resources, and Apttus just has grown like I would say weed, but that would have a negative connotation. It has just been so exciting. Apttus is now over 1,100 people, and serving some of the largest brands that you know and use every day. So it's been an exciting time here.
It really does seem and feel like an exciting time for you guys at Apttus, because I attended ApttusAccelerate last year in an uncharacteristically hot San Francisco. Recorded several episodes there, in particular enjoying my time with Kirk Krapp, who I could talk to all night. He's got so many great stories to share. But if we do have any listeners that are new to this show and Apttus and phrases such as quote to cash, can you offer a brief overview around what you guys do at Apttus and also how it is a real big game changer in the industry?
Yeah, so Apttus solves a problem that any company that's selling to other companies deals with, right? You recognize that there's an opportunity in some way, and you may recognize that through your CRM system where you create an opportunity, but then there hasn't been previously a great tool that then helps that all the way until kind of finance may recognize that in the ERP system. And so what companies did is they solved it with these kind of point solutions. So they fixed their CPQ. So for CPQ, for those who don't know, it's configure, price, quote. So they'd make it that their reps could do a quote, or then they'd make it that their team could manage that contract, or they'd buy a tool that could help with the renewal. But nothing put all that together. And it just was so obvious. Kirk, who you mentioned, had been in the contract management space for so much time that these things didn't belong disjointed. The companies wanted to maximize their revenue process overall. And so that's essentially what Apttus does. We have a number of solutions that come together in a very unique way to maximize that revenue solution. When you look at our most recent announcements, and I know we may talk about some of those, this is built on, so now not only do we have tools to maximize that, we're leveraging artificial intelligence and even some apps that drive behavior to make sure that these tools are adopted and that the work that artificial intelligence can do to continue to optimize that process is done. So Great suite of products that optimize that, then added with a number of artificial intelligence and behavior apps.
Now, we often hear about the lack of equality in technology. So a question I feel I must ask you, as a successful woman working in the tech industry, how do you feel the future of work is different for women than it is for men?
Yeah, I get asked about that a lot, and clearly there's still work to do because we're asking that question. So I think a very valid one.
Yeah.
I think, every day I try to not come at the situation as a woman, but as somebody trying to solve for the problems of the business, and even more than that, the problems of our customer. That said, I had the great privilege this week I was at a conference that Microsoft hosted, their annual Ignite conference. It holds about 30,000 people, and a portion of that called Envision had Michelle Obama speak, and she said a quote that I think really shares what we should all be thinking. She was talking to the chief legal officer at Microsoft, and she was also their president, and she said to him, equality begets equality, that diversity begets diversity. Essentially, that you can't create diversity in an organization unless you have some diversity there. And she was a little bit provocative. We all laughed because she talked to this great leader at Microsoft and said, "Hey, I bet I know more Black women than you do." And all of us laughed. But what she was saying was, if you don't have diversity in the room, it's going to be really hard to drive more diversity. And so just being in the room, I think, helps. As a woman, I think that myself is not enough, that there needs to be lots of different types of diversity in the room. And I think as that all comes together, you're going to continue to see diversity breed.
I'm curious as well. I mean, do you think there are things that women worry about that men do not when it comes to the future of jobs and also automation?
Yeah, I think there's study after study, right? So as I continued to get older in the workplace, every study I read tells me that potentially my value can become less versus my experience driving more. And those stats are something I pay attention to and try to plan against. I think really being aware of the situation and trying to work to change it or make my place, that where I'm not then as part of those stats is part of how we make change. And so it's definitely something I think about.
And do you think that there are areas that women excel in by bringing a unique perspective to the field, in your opinion?
I mean, I would say all of them, but I may be a little bit biased in that conversation. I think what ultimately we want to do, not just for ourselves or for the people in our company, but even for our customers, is create a diverse view. One of the first things you learn, I'm a passionate marketer, and I've been in marketing for my entire career, studied marketing. And in that first marketing class that I had, the first thing they taught us is they said, you're going to go into marketing and you're going to come with your perspective and you're going to put the marketing forward that you think is good. Unfortunately, you are not the demographic that you're trying to sell to in the majority of cases. And so, that's an important lesson as we think about our companies, that we need to represent a broad group, and it's easier to do that when we are a broad group. And so, things like having a customer advisory board, an executive advisory board, we do an annual impact study, we have a diverse leadership group, all of those things come together in the best way to represent your customer base. And ultimately, it's about providing the best solutions for your customers, as we want, or even more personally, is I want to grow with a company. The first thing we need is a successful company, and making sure our customers are represented is a really great way to do that. I do think specifically for women, I bring different characteristics than maybe the woman sitting next to me, but there are characteristics that I bring to the table that are sometimes different than the men in the room, right? It made things like empathy, nurturing, areas that are strengths for me are different than maybe strengths of somebody else. And so leveraging those to create a better rounded organization, I think, is important.
Absolutely. There are a lot of big themes in the tech industry at the moment, which we're probably both familiar with, things like artificial intelligence, automation, machine learning. And I know these are subjects that Apttus are very passionate about as well, but a question I've got to ask is, do you think automation will have an impact on that wage gap across society and indeed across multiple industries over the next, 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think as we look across our country, we are not the same agriculture and manufacturing organization that we may have been. And so automation allows us to invest in other skills that are where our country is more successful right now. I think when I look at my team, every day we're considering automation products for marketing the same way our sales team is thinking about it, the same way our legal team is thinking about it, not just to lower costs, which automation often does. It also creates predictability. You know what that cost is going to be, which you may not know with human personal resources. But it also allows us to leverage each of our team members in the way that's most powerful, right? I don't have marketers that are sitting and compiling lists of customers or prospects anymore. I have systems that do that. And a lot of that was low value ad activities. It was important, but took up a lot of time and was very manual. Here, I can provide an experience because we're using automation where my team is happier. They're excited about the things they're working on. They're challenged. They're not doing repetitive tasks. And so I think we do owe it to our teams to really look at how we can leverage automation so that we can get the most out of them, which will make them happier employees. It'll increase retention. All of that is why organizations should leverage automation. Sometimes that gets confused because we don't create a frictionless process, or we create automation that creates more work. And so we have to be careful that way. But automation is a great thing that all of our organizations should be thinking about. As it applies to the wage gap, it allows us to put our resources and our human talent in places where they're going to be better leveraged. And so we can spend more on them because they're doing higher value tasks, right? And so that's definitely going to help wages overall, and then hopefully with that address that gap.
Absolutely. I do think we do concentrate too much on the job roles that are actually disappearing and not enough on the new roles that are coming along. I mean, that's how it works. If we look back 20, 30 years ago, there was no such thing as a social media analyst or a developer. And all these new roles that are coming in now that are high in demand, it's just as the times change, isn't it?
Yeah. And so I think to your point there, what we have to do as leaders is focus on how to help people through that change. I know, we use marketing automation here, and instead of trying to find somebody who always has, 5-10 years of marketing automation experience, finding somebody who may not have that experience but has the skills, and we can teach them the technology. And so that's a great way as a company, for us to save money because we're not paying a premium for those skills, but also help somebody through that change where they're trying to bring on something new. So it is our obligation to help people through that change and leveraging automation while still leveraging their skills.
It certainly does seem that we're on the right path now, and equally on the right path in equality too, after some much needed and highly publicised awareness in the media recently. But you know what? I am male, so it would be wrong for me just to assume that. So I must ask if you think IT will remain that male-dominated field, or if you're seeing changes in the industry yourself firsthand there.
I mean, I see changes every day. As I walk into a leadership meeting here at Apttus, I sit next to a chief legal officer who is a female, a chief finance officer who is a female, as well as our head of IT and facilities who is a female. And what is exciting is I don't think when we sit in that room that anybody is sitting there thinking, oh, that's a good point for a female. I think They think this is somebody contributing to the organization. So I do think change is happening. Again, back to that original point, I think the only way it continues is if we continue to make sure that there's diversity in the room, and that's not just for women, but across every area where you can have diversity. And that is what will continue to make that change.
I also read last week how Apttus unveiled the first contract management platform to automate routine tasks and provide actionable insights, all using applied artificial intelligence. So can I ask you to give me a quick update on this for anyone that's listening that missed that announcement?
Yeah, so if anybody on the call is sitting here thinking, artificial intelligence, I don't really know about that, it's for the future. what does this have to do with me? Or maybe they're just thinking, this isn't the part I need to listen to. I think what we're seeing as a company who is trying to leverage this, technology every day is that your feeling is not unique, that companies want their systems to leverage artificial intelligence so that they don't have to think of it. The expectation is that Apttus is coming to the table with that, and we are a leader in the spaces that we provide services. As that leader, that we are there first. And so that's why you're seeing our announcements that way. You should not, as the consumer, have to think about what the artificial intelligence algorithms are. We are coming with that. And so across our entire suite of solutions, you are seeing advancements there every day. And what that's doing is making, right back to that commitment to our customers that I talked about, it is making their jobs easier. It is providing benefits for their companies. And so this announcement is one of many. We are continuing to push the front here, and you're going to continue to see more announcements if I had a crystal ball. The important piece here is we're looking at the tasks the same way we're looking at using automation to improve jobs. We're looking at how technology, how artificial intelligence can do this further. And so just one simple example of something that we're doing is going through all of your past contracts, right? So understanding what clauses were there, and as you're selling to a new customer, understanding what their demographics are, their firmographics, all of the things about that company, and how it relates to all of the contracts in the past, and making recommendations for clauses to make sure that that contract is more beneficial both to your company and the person then buying your solution. And so that's a simple example. That's one of the 4 areas that we announced new artificial intelligence tools for our contract management product. And we're really excited. We have companies leveraging our artificial intelligence in a big way. Some examples, you may have seen some press with Twilio or Wolters Kluwer. We have lots of customers that are looking just to leverage this, but again, not to buy an artificial intelligence tool, but how is artificial intelligence improving that entire revenue process?
So looking to the future, I'm going to ask you to get that crystal ball out again, I'm afraid. Is it too early to ask about any teasers for the ApttusAccelerate event in 2018?
I think one thing in technology that we don't talk about enough, we just talked about automation doing some of the tasks, but we've left the important, the meaty work, right, for our teams. And those teams need to come together. When we talk about improving a revenue process, no matter how much technology we bring, there needs to be the people and the processes at the front of that are going to progress the front, right? That are going to be looking for new ways to work within that revenue process. We also, what we solve brings different teams together. It's IT coming together with finance, with the sales team, with the marketing team. And so we put on an annual conference to make sure that we're not just focused on the technology, but the overall people and processes. And that is our ApttusAccelerate conference. I think every company that provides any automation should be really looking to create that community. And so next year we will be having ApttusAccelerate 2018. We have not announced the date and location yet. We are finalizing that, but you can count on that happening in spring and next year. We're already talking about exciting ways to make that a better event. And a lot of those changes you'll see are around bringing our customers together in new ways so that they can continue to improve that process. And so we are excited. You can plan to in the spring be to be at the event. We're going to finalize that date. It will be in San Francisco once again, and we are planning to have about 3,000 or so people there. Neil, I'm hoping to see you there.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to be there again and catch up with you guys. Finally, before I let you go, can you remind the listeners of your website details and also contact details of anyone in your team, should anyone listening have any questions about the wide range of topics we've discussed today?
Yeah, you can find us at Apttus.com. Neil, it's really great that you're asking for that, because what everybody gets confused with is the spelling. We are APTTUS, so you can find us at APTTUS.com. You can also see us at a number of upcoming events. We are hosting a number of hospitality activities at this year's Dreamforce. This week, we're at Microsoft's Ignite and Envision events. On that website, you can see that events page. We would love to meet anybody in person as well as, through our website. And then we do hope that we see all the listeners at ApttusAccelerate this year as well. Anybody who is looking to improve their revenue processes, do something with quoting, contract management, revenue optimization, all of those things, we would love to talk to you.
Well, a huge thank you for taking the time to come on today. I appreciate how busy you are. And we've highlighted so many great things there, but for me, it's the importance of diversity, doing things differently, thinking things differently, and actually coming together and working together more. And I think you've made the point beautifully, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story today. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Neil.
I must admit, I was gutted I didn't make it to Microsoft annual Ignite conference in Orlando, Florida this year, especially because of Michelle Obama's attendance. Now, although her message was delivered in a light-hearted manner, make no mistake, her words were incredibly powerful. In order for tech companies to become more diverse, the people doing the hiring must be more diverse too. And it's this diversity in IT and the tech industry that is so important for so many reasons. Cultural diversity is core to the success of any business, rather than just having a bunch of middle-aged white guys in suits agreeing with each other and encouraging negative attitudes. It should be about encouraging these differences in opinions and ensuring that everyone is working together. Now, having seen Maria in action at Apttus, she's truly inspirational, and her phenomenal work ethic, but also inspiring those around her. Like I said at the beginning of the show, Apttus is one of the fastest growing Silicon Valley technology companies, and certainly one to add to your watch list if you've enjoyed today's show. But we've come full circle, so a big thank you to Maria for taking the time to speak with us today. And I hope you'll rejoin me again tomorrow, but we're out of time, so a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.